Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Is it good? Yeah. Space Marine 2 is a third-person shooter with some melee combat. The game has 3 different modes: Campaign, Operations and Eternal War. I'll go through them all, starting with Campaign. You play as Titus and you must fight against Tyranids, a form of aliens, and heretics. As someone who's never watched, played or read anything Warhammer related, I'll admit that the whole story went completely over my head, especially with the constant references to different events, places and factions. But that didn't bother me, as the Warhammer 40k universe blew me away. It's a huge mix of futuristic sci-fi with medieval aspects, buckets of theology and even some 20th century tech, which, on paper, it shouldn't work, but it really does, and I can't wait to play more 40k games in the future. You can play the campaign with up to 2 other people. I played it by myself and it was fine. The AI that plays in their place is very good at fighting enemies. Even during boss fights, the bosses would often attack the AI companions instead of me, which felt very real, so I didn't miss having real people by my side. During the campaign, you mainly have 2 firearms and a melee weapon. There's lots of different guns in the game, and at first it was a little overwhelming, but once I found my favourites, I mainly stuck with them. With your melee weapon, you can parry some enemies' attacks. Perfectly timed parries will stagger the enemy and let you shoot them, and if you're lucky, you can perform an execution move on them. Below your health is your armour. This can be replenished with executions, so it gives you lots of incentive to push forward and attack the enemy head on. Not that you want to stand still for too long, as this game throws so many different enemies at you at once. While most of the time there'll be small enemies that can be taken down with 1 or 2 shots, it's still very easy to get swarmed and find yourself in a lot of trouble very quickly. During the campaign, the game unfortunately doesn't make you feel very powerful, despite looking like a walking, talking Hulkbuster. It does sometimes give you stuff to play with, like a jump pack, but it was so short-lived, which was disappointing. The good news, however, is in the game mode Operations, you can play as 6 different classes, and these felt amazing. There's all sorts of classes, such as Assault, which gives you a jump pack, Vanguard, which gives you a grapple shot, a sniper class, and more. There are 6 missions to play in Operations, and you can play them online. When you select a mission, you'll be matched with other people who also want to play the same level. I was always impressed by how quickly the game was able to find people. I'm not joking, it found people to play with within seconds. Despite being able to find people quickly, the game does have some of the longest loading screens I've seen in this generation of consoles, sometimes taking up to 3 minutes to get in or out of a level. After each mission, you get XP, which can be used to get upgrades and new skills. Doing so will make you more powerful and make the harder difficulties easier. However, in order to fully upgrade a class, you have to replay the same 6 missions over and over, which I had no interest in, especially as all the levels combined can be completed in under 3 hours. I did play every level at least twice, but that was enough for me. The final mode is Eternal War. This is PvP. This mode was great as it reminded me of online shooters of yesteryear. There's unfortunately only 3 modes, which is basically Team Deathmatch, and 2 objective-based modes, which were like Domination and Hardpoint from other online games. You can use the same classes as the Operation missions, but you can't use any of the upgrades, so it keeps a level playing field. I had great fun in this mode, but I did have a few gripes. First being, in Team Deathmatch, there was often people just standing in spawn, waiting to kill people. I even had enemies spawning in front of me just after I'd spawned, which was very annoying. Also, while playing the objective game modes, the game announcer would constantly repeat the same dialogue line whenever your team either took, lost or contested an objective, and it was so annoying, especially as you can't turn him off or turn him down. My only other complaint is there's only 3 maps, which is criminally low for an online shooter, though I will say that all the maps were great, well designed and unique. The graphics are gorgeous, especially on quality mode, but I couldn't stay on this long as the frame rate was maximum 30, sometimes less, which made it a lot harder to aim. Though, having it on performance mode doesn't mean having a locked 60. The frame rate was constantly dipping when there's lots of enemies or explosions happening on screen. That was Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, and I give it a 7 out of 10.